Well, with each passing day, we're getting closer to the 2024 season, but in this video, I want to talk about the pecking order of the wild turkey and how you can use that pecking order to your advantage come this spring. So you stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. I think when a person understands the pecking order of the wild turkey on throughout the year, as far as like not just spring but the entire year, and how it plays effect in the role of each and every turkey in that flock, I think it's going to make you a lot better spring hunter. Because when we're dealing with spring turkey hunting, a lot of us deal with henned-up gobblers. When the seasons are set by the state DNRs, a lot of these seasons are set right up in the peak of the breeding season. So by the time your opening season gets, opening day gets here rather, you're dealing with henned-up gobblers, and that discourages a lot of hunters. You know, we've talked about henned-up gobblers and hunting henned-up gobblers in videos past and years past, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into not just calling to the hens to get the gobbler over to you, but I want to talk about challenging the gobbler and challenging that longbeard out there that's with them hens, because many times you don't even, you know, you can challenge him and not even fool with the hens and get him to come over to you to check you out. You know, a lot of people like decoys. I'm not a big decoy person. It's just not my style of hunting, but I have a decoy that I carry around every once in a while. But a lot of people like to put these big strutting decoys out and watch these big mature long-spurred turkeys come in and flog their decoys, and sometimes that happens. But the same reaction that you're getting to that strutter decoy is the same reaction that I get to gobbler yelping or jake yelping or challenging that gobbler through gobbler yelps. I'm getting that same reaction because he's coming over to check me out because I'm challenging him and I'm letting him know that there's a new guy in town and I might be coming to take his ladies. And I've actually seen mature gobblers, big long spurred 1.5-inch gobblers, spur gobblers come across a field. You know, he may not leave them hens totally, he may not leave them you know, out of his sight totally, but if he's out there 80, 90, 100 yards, I've seen gobblers come to my gobbler yelping, you know, 40, 50, 60 yards across the open field or across a flat in the woods, come within that 40, 45 yard range just to check me out and to see, you know, who that new guy is that's coming in, and me be able to take a long shot and kill him. So I've done that a few times. Now, does it work all the time? No, nothing works all the time, but I always have in the back of my mind to try it. And there's not a year that don't go by that I'm not dealing with henned-up gobblers, and I see henned-up gobblers out there that I don't try to gobbler yelp to them and jake yelp to them and try to get them to come to me, and sometimes it's very successful. So I think when we're dealing with henned-up gobblers, a lot of us just play on the hens pecking order and try to get that boss hen fired up, and that works, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I'm going to first try to get on that gobbler's nerve. I'm going to try to get on his mind. I'm going to try to get on his roll. I'm going to try to knock him off that pedestal and challenge him for his place in that pecking order. And many times, you know, you'll watch their heads turn blood red, and they'll strut, and they'll really get fired up, and they'll turn, and they'll come all the way almost to you to run you off and to challenge you because you're doing it through gobbler yelping. Now, if you've not watched any of my other old videos on gobbler yelping, all you're doing is lengthening out your yelps. You're doing it slower, you're doing it more raspier, you know, and you're really just lengthening out your yelps to 4 or 5 note yelps instead of your basic hen yelps that's a little bit more faster cadence, a little bit more higher pitch. You're just lengthening out your yelps. When you do that, they know the difference, you know, and I love to do it on a box call, you know, do it on a real good box call like my old slide call. I'll sit there and gobbler yelp, you know, with a box call, and seeing these gobblers absolutely turn and come my way. So when you're challenging that pecking order and you're challenging that gobbler out there with them hens, that is a great way of setting yourself up for success if you just throw some gobbler yelps and some jake yelps and be that gobbler that's just challenging him for his place out there to breed them hens. Now, just like there's always a boss gobbler, there's a boss hen. And I've always found that there's two types of hens that you're going to encounter. That's the shy hen. She may be the dominant one, but sometimes you'll call to that hen. And I think sometimes in videos past, and maybe I've been guilty of it and other people's guilty of it, we talk about calling to the hens and we talk about, you know, getting that lead hen fired up and they're just going to come and drag the gobbler in. And you know, that does happen a lot, okay, and that does work. But sometimes you're going to find that hen that's got a different attitude, that sometimes she just drags the gobbler off. Maybe you've called too much to her. Maybe you kind of pushed her too much. And that just happens, you know. It's kind of hard to read that. But when you're calling to her, I've seen hens rather, you know, lead the gobbler off. And she's talking to you. She's yelping back at you. And you're cutting her off. And she's talking to you. But instead of coming to you, she actually drags the gobbler off. And there's really nothing you can do about it except get up and try to, you know, move and reset up on them and try to get ahead of them and try to get where they want to be, you know, in a situation like that. But a lot of times you're going to find hens that's just not going to come. They're just, you know, they're going to respond back to you, and you're going to get excited thinking this is going to work. But you know, she just leads him off. Maybe you called too much. Maybe you've pushed a little bit too hard. You know, maybe she wants to keep that gobbler corralled off to herself. But you're never going to know unless you try. And the one thing that you want to do is you want to try to call and get and keep experimenting with different things. The one thing that's one thing that I do, and what I've always said is to have different type calls. Have your box calls, have your slate calls, have your mouth calls, have different sounding calls. And you want to just, you know, it's almost like fishing again. You want to try and just go through your calls, trying to get that lead hen ticked off and call them back to you. And then you start working on her. And then you start cutting her off. When she starts calling, you cut her off right in the middle of her calling. And many times that again, you're playing on that dominance, you're playing on that pecking order, and it gets them ticked off, and she's either going to take the gobbler off or she's going to come to you. And I've had them done both times. But don't get discouraged if she takes him off. Just like I said, get up and try to get moved around. And if you know where they're going, kind of get way ahead of them and just wait for the whole flock to come to you. And many times you can get them that way. But if you can call to that lead bird and get her ticked off enough to come to you, she's going to drag the gobbler to you. You're never going to know unless you try. But don't get discouraged when you see these henned up gobblers, and don't get discouraged when you see this day in and day out. You can be successful, but you got to play on that pecking order. And I think gobbler yelping is one of the lost art forms that a lot of old hunters knew, and a lot of old turkey hunters knew about, and that's why that, you know, they did it a lot and they were successful, and I've been successful with it over the years myself. You know, when I first started the channel here, really, I think when I first started, I was the only one, and I'm not bragging on myself, I'm just saying I was the only video that you could pull up way back in the day about gobbler yelping years ago. Of course, that video ain't here no more because it was such bad quality. I went back and redone it. But years ago, way back in 2012 or 13, I did a video on gobbler yelping, and I was like the only video that you could even pull up because nobody was talking about it. Because it's been lost. It's been a lost art form. But it works. And it's worked so many times for me over the years. Calling to hens and challenging gobblers in their pecking order, and it'll still work for you. I do it every year. But when you challenge them, get ready, because I'll tell you what, you could call the whole flock to you, or you could call that gobbler away from them hens to come kick your tail through gobbler yelping. And I'll tell you what, when you can do that, man, I'll tell you what, you need to go play the lottery that day. But it does work. And I always want to keep that little bag of tricks right close to me, because I'm mostly dealing with henned up gobblers during the turkey season. But it doesn't bother me. I don't let it affect me. I just get out there and hunt them, challenge that pecking order, and you'll be successful too. Thank you for viewing this video, and make sure to take time to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you'll be notified when Dale Outdoors uploads their videos every single week. We'll be bringing you educational videos like this one, and also when turkey season gets here, we'll be bringing you turkey hunts, so you don't want to miss any of it. Also, check out all of our great sponsors that helps us in the links below. Check out Tidewe.com, where you can get a lot of great products over there. Just use that promo code DALE, where you can get even a better percentage off through the promo code. Check out Stoker Shotguns, check out Spring Fever Custom Calls, where you can get my signature line of Matt Dale Old Sly series of turkey calls. You don't want to miss out on any of it. And check out Kona Scopes and all the other great sponsors we have in the links below. We really appreciate you watching this video. Until the next one, you be safe out there and get that big old gobbler this coming spring.